Hello, my friends. Welcome to our discussion today. Our destination is England, and our protagonists are stones, not huge statues, but handmade or smaller ones. These stones do not bear strange writings or secret languages, but simple faces. However, the strangeness of these stones does not stop there. It begins with their discovery. Strange incidents and terrifying apparitions have been reported, and wherever these stones go, their curses follow. We delve into the mysterious world of stones and discover the story of the cursed heads of Hexham. We start with Hexham, a relatively average town in the far north of the United Kingdom or England. This town's fame doesn't come from its beautiful historic buildings or the fact that it was voted the happiest place to live in England in 2019 and 2021. That's another story. The town's fame dates back to the 1970s, specifically 1971. That year, the Robson family moved into their new home in this town. Everything was going well until one day the family's children, Colin and Leslie, were digging in the garden to play. But something unexpected happened. The children dug up two stones in their garden. These stones are unlike anything they had seen before. They were small, about 6 centimeters, the size of a palm, or even smaller. Despite their small size, the stones contained carvings, and not just the sculpture, but the face. It is because of these faces that the stones have their name. One of these stones was called Boy because of a face carved into the small stone representing the face or skull of a child. What do you think the second stone was called? Yes, my friends, the Girl. And again, the motif was the face of a long-haired girl drawn or carved in stone. The two stones were carved in the shape of a skull with a small neck on each, which archaeologists believe, who studied them, indicates that the two stones were probably connected to something larger at some point. The boys took the stones and went to tell their parents what they had found. The parents did not pay attention to what the boys had found and decided to let them keep the stones at home. This is where the horror began. According to what the family reported to various media outlets covering the story, the rocks moved on their own and the liquor bottles and water mysteriously flowed through the rooms. But that's not all. One of the family's children started screaming hysterically. When the family went to check, the child told his parents that when he passed the main door of the house, the door opened automatically without anyone touching it, revealing a strange creature outside. The child told his parents that he had seen a very scary creature, half sheep, half man. Of course, the parents went out, but there was no sign of any creature. Some may say that the boy, due to the strange events he had seen in his home, had imagined it. But when a neighbor reported the same sighting, it made matters even more suspicious. According to what was reported on various websites, the Robsons' neighbors, the Dodd family, also reported that strange things had happened to them. One of the neighbor's children had his hair pulled out during the night when no one was with him, and the mother, Nellie, reported seeing a strange creature leave the house that same night. This creature was half man, half goat. Really scary, isn't it? The story of these stones spread and reached the press and media. Specialists and art experts began to arrive at the Robson family home to examine and study these stones, but none of them could determine the period to which these stones belong. The Robson family decided to get rid of these stones because they were convinced that they were the main cause of the horror they saw. In fact, Dr. Anne Ross, a specialist in Celtic archaeology, volunteered to study these stones, particularly as they resemble other artifacts and works of art dating back to the ancient Celtic civilization. The doctor took the stones from the family home to study. Naturally, the Robson family did not report any strange incidents or sightings after the stones left their home. It is assumed that Dr. Anne did not report anything strange because she was a woman of science and did not believe in supernatural phenomena and superstitions. But listen carefully. Dr. Anne, in an interview with the BBC, mentioned some strange sights and incidents that did not sit well with her scientific thinking. She recounted in her interview that morning that she woke up to see a creature, half wolf, half man, coming out of her room. The doctor followed the creature into the kitchen, but it suddenly disappeared. A few days later, Dr. Ann's daughter Emma told her mother that she had seen a large wolf-like creature after returning from school. The creature jumped over the fence of the house and went inside before disappearing. Of course, apart from what Dr. Ann said about her sudden feeling of cold, the feeling of someone behind her, the doors being opened by them, and other observations that largely corresponded with previous observations. But what attracted the most attention in the interview was the subject of the wolf or werewolf, since this creature was associated with the famous Hexham wolf, which terrorized the town and killed a large number of livestock before being hit by a train in 1904 and was killed. This wolf was as big and wild as it was considered a wolf in the eyes of the townspeople of the time. After his death, only his story remained, which faded with time and was only brought back to memory when the story of Hexham Heads was discovered. A direct link was made between the wolf creature that was reported in the sightings, the famous wolf, and the stones. These stones became a source of life for the wolf creature, which apparently, according to local belief, is none other than the famous Hexham wolf who came back to life thanks to the cursed stones. Dr. Ann was convinced that what had happened to her was due to the presence of 2 stones in her house, so she removed them and the sightings immediately stopped. Many associations, research centers, and universities have dealt with these stones in an attempt to reveal their mystery and the history of their carving, but all efforts have failed. After some time, a man named Desmond Cradon came forward claiming that he was the one who made and engraved these stones in 1956 while he lived in the house where the stones were found. He told the media that he made the stones for his daughter to play with and added that he made 3 stones, not 2. The 3rd stone has been lost while the famous 2 remain. The man added that he used water, sand, and stones to sculpt the faces. However, his statement was not accepted by the scientific community and the media, so he was asked to recreate such stones and sculpt the faces. The man fulfilled the request, but the result was completely different and radically different from the 2 famous stones. As we said, many studies have been carried out on the 2 stones. Some have traced it back to Celtic times, making the stones cursed, while others have traced its history much more, presenting as evidence of human sacrifices on the altar of the gods. Another theory has linked the stones and sightings to Norse mythology, or what are generally called Norse legends, specifically the creature called Fenrir. This beast is half man, half wolf, like the creature reported by Dr. Ann. The stones continued to move from place to place until they arrived at the University of Southampton for study. It was after the study ended, without getting enough answers, these stones were sent to a psychiatrist in 1978. After that, the stones and the man disappeared completely, and all sightings still associated with these cursed stones ceased. To this day, there is no trace or even evidence of the whereabouts of these stones. The Hexham Heads remain an ongoing mystery that has stirred terror, fear, and controversy, waiting for someone to solve their riddle. Will these stones reappear one day to reopen the door to questions that were never closed in the first place? No one knows. My friends, this is what we have been told about the cursed heads of Hexham. If this story intrigues you, go to Google and then come back and share your thoughts in the comments. Unexpectedly discovered stones, the beginning of a journey of terrible events and strange sightings. Stones for which no one has been able to determine or confirm anything, including the date of manufacture, their maker, and the purpose of their creation or their carving, remained hidden. With the disappearance of these stones, any hope of discovering their secrets has disappeared. Perhaps these stones were lost or disappeared accidentally, or perhaps they were deliberately hidden to hide what lies behind them, especially since the strange or rather supernatural appearance comes from the mouths of the scientists themselves. Science, which has denied and continues to deny everything related to curses, ghosts, and supernatural phenomena that cannot explain. Was the disappearance of these stones a basic requirement to keep everything inexplicable in the realm of imagination and hallucination? Or did the stones simply get lost and disappear with their last owner? These questions remain unanswered, as does everything else about these stones, in the hope that the Hexham Heads will reappear to lift the veil of mystery that surrounded them and still surrounds them. As for us, we will be watchful and waiting, and we will shed light on many issues that have caused controversy and amazement, both in the past and in the present. Thanks for watching our video about unveiling the mystery of the scary Hexham stones. I hope you enjoyed watching the video, and please don't forget to subscribe, to like the video, and share it with loved ones.